Four things you should know about Tappet clearance. Hi, my name is Heston Dias and I'm at Basic Marine Engineering. First thing, what is Tappet clearance? Secondly, why it is provided? Thirdly, what will happen if you don't do it? Fourth, how to do it. So coming back, first thing which I said, what is Tappet clearance? Tappet clearance is basically the gap which is provided between the valve stem head and the rocker arm. So the gap is provided. That gap is called as the Tappet clearance. Now why it is provided? Basically, it is provided for the expansion of materials which will happen because of temperature change, and that can hamper the valve operation. Now, if we don't do it properly, what can happen? Let's say you have not provided any Tappet clearance. Tappet clearance is zero. So what will happen when the valve expands? When the engine starts, engine gets hot, valve expands, valve will remain open. Why? Because there was no gap. So now automatically the valve is kept open. Maybe not fully open, but partially open. Let's try to understand with this. Let's consider this is the rocker arm, this is your valve stem. Now, normally when the engine is at cold condition, you will keep some gap. Okay, so that when the engine turns hot, the gap is gone. And when the rocker arm tries to operate, when it tries to push the valve stem, it will open up. Now what has happened? Let's consider a scenario in which you have kept no gap. Let's say in cold scenario only you have kept it in this manner. Okay, there is no gap. So what happens? The valve heats up because the entire engine has gone hot. Valve heats up, and automatically now the valve remains in open position. Even though the rocker arm has not moved, what has happened is because of the temperature difference, the expansion has taken place and valve slightly is open. Now when the rocker arm tries to turn it, it will open up more early, and it will close it little late. In fact, some of it will not even be closed. Partially it will remain open. Now let's consider the second scenario in which what happens is you have kept the valve, or you have to keep the distance excessive. Let's say you're supposed to keep 4 mm and you have kept it around 10 mm. So what actually happens? Now the gap which was supposed to be there, you have kept more. Now expansion takes place, the gap reduces. But now when the time of operation comes, when the rocker arm starts moving, actually the valve should have opened. But no, it is not opening. Why? Because it is trying to cover up the gap which is there, and then it opens. Okay, so in this scenario what will happen? The valve will be open late and closed early. Why? Because the position of rocker arm to keep it closed is here, when it should keep closed when it is at this position. But right now when it lifts here, it is already closed. It is still moving up. Okay, so you have to understand why it is so important. So this is the problem which many people do when they don't set it properly. Now the last part which is there, how to set it. Tappet clearance is given for what? It is given so that you are able to handle the expansion which is taking place because of the heat. With that, you can understand very clearly that it has to be set at a cold condition. First of all, turn the flywheel. You turn the flywheel and you will get two units which will be telling you that they are on TDC. Like let's say unit number 5 and number 4, let's say. Okay, so these two units are on TDC. Now to set the Tappet clearance, we just don't want to set the Tappet clearance, we just don't want the units on TDC, but we want both the valves to be in close condition. For that to happen, either we have to check whether the firing order is on, and we can check that by checking the cam. We can check the suction and exhaust cam, they have to be at base circle. We can check the fuel cam, it has to be at peak, so then we know it is firing. Secondly, we can check the push rods. Okay, if I take the push rods, if I go and touch the push rods, you have to be sure that the push rod cover is not there. Many a times you have the push rod cover, so you will not able to touch the push rods. But if you can touch the push rods, you have to try to turn them and see if they are loaded. If they are loaded, that means already the cam has turned and the push rods are loaded. That means that unit is not on TDC. Or the last one, what will happen is, this is how it will look on a fuel pump gallery, will look like this. And if I take one fuel pump, let's take one fuel pump, just increase this size, so you can see this cover over here. Can you see the cover over here? So once you remove this cover, what will happen is there will be a circle over here, and what will happen is you will have one line onto the body. There will be two lines, and inside the body there will be one more line. Okay, so when this line moves up and matches with the top line, that is the time when your firing is taking place. In fact, we use this line to check the timing of the fuel pump. So we can use this line to see whether the fuel cam is moved, if we don't want to open the fuel cam cover. Otherwise we can open the fuel cam cover and we can check. So this is another way of checking. Okay, as we can see here, we can see the rocker arm, and if I have to zoom in, you can see there are two sets. One is for suction, one is for exhaust. So take one, and as I told you, as I was telling you all, two filler gauge will be there, two different filler gauge. So make sure you mark the suction filler gauge or at least exhaust filler gauge with a certain marking. What I was doing on board is I was marking the suction filler gauge with the green tape, so that I know green is for suction, and in that way I don't do the opposite, because many a times if it is different it can completely go bad for you. Okay, so here what we can see, this is your push rod and rocker arm. We have, this is your locking nut. Okay, on top we can see adjusting screw. So what you can do here, first of all, open the locking nut. Okay, normally it's a 24 spanner. Use the open the locking nut, open the lock adjusting screw, slightly loosen it, then insert filler gauge over here. Okay, insert the filler gauge. Make sure the filler gauge is moving not very smooth and not very tight also. You should not be struggling, but you should able to move it slight with resistance, but it should move. It should not be very tight and very loose also. And to get that, you will have to adjust the adjusting screw. Okay, after you have done the adjusting screw and you have achieved that, what you can do, holding the screwdriver on the adjusting screw, tighten the locking nut. Once you have tightened the locking nut, again check whether everything is proper. Make sure you have tightened it properly. You have to understand with vibration it can get loose. So if you have not tightened it properly, it will create a problem for you. So once you have set one, you can do the other one. Okay. So once you have done that, as I was telling you earlier, then you can go for the other units. Okay. Understood? Other units we have already spoken about it. Then we can go for other units, but always make sure you do the check once again. So I hope you have understood. Till my next video, best of luck. Whenever you're answering questions like this for orals and interviews, make sure you use proper words and explain it properly. Don't just leave the answer with just one word. Okay, hope you have understood. Thank you. Till my next video, please follow and subscribe and share this video so that we can reach for more people and teach more people. Thank you.